Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of AUC Observer. I'm your host, Yusuf Al-Ghannam, and in today's episode, we will learn more about the distinguished AUC faculty members and share some crucial public service announcements. We will also be joined by Dr. Hakeem Mishriqi, who will shed some light on the business management environment in Egypt and what are the do's and don'ts for startups and upcoming companies. Stay tuned. The music program director, Dr. Chelsea Green, is an arts specialist, especially when it comes to music. More on her profile with Iman Al-Sayed. Water is a critical global resource, which is why we would like to take a moment to tell you more about the best ways to conserve it. At the start of 2022, the AUC announced a new councillor. To tell us more about our new councillor, Dr. Muhammad Hamza, we turn to our reporter, Gihad Abdelrazak. The increased amounts of plastic waste have led to the deterioration of our environment. Let's take a look at how this happens. Next, our reporter Fatma Al-Khatib tells us more about Kamal Al-Adham, the Saudi businessman whose name is linked to many achievements. Being respectful and courteous is a great human value. This is your reminder to be kind. Professor Malik Khouri did a great job in establishing the film department at AUC. So let's find out more about his academic and personal life with Muhammad Asam. Next, we have an important message that reminds us all how important road safety is. So please, drive safely at all times. A journey full of inventions, high positions in academic careers, and impressive successes for Professor Muhammad Naguib Abu Zaid. Salma Tariq is here to tell us more. Social media is one of the greatest advancements, but it definitely includes many downsides. So remember, life on social media isn't quite as accurate to reality.
Today I want to share with you my experience and tell you about how to be happy and confident in 3 steps. As much as you can, no matter what the life or world throws at you.
Life on social media isn't real. Get real with your life.
Dr. Dina Amin is one of the pioneers of the theater and has led AUC to the forefront of artistic excellence. Learn more about her through our reporter, Yusuf Al-Ghannam. corruption being led by an overflow of bribery, we give you an important message to end the corruption whenever you can.
اللي بعده
عايزين نمضي الورق ده.
طيب يا استاذ، الامضه اللي حضرتك عايزاها تمام، لكن اللي حضرتك عاملاه ده ما يصحش ومش تمام خالص. اتفضلي. اللي بعده.
Dr. Maki Habib is one of the forerunners of mechanical engineering. Join us as we take a look at his career. Our reporter Jada Shukri will tell us more. As students, faculty, and staff, we have an ever-increasing workload, which is a key contributor to stress, but it is of utmost importance to manage it.
How was the assignment?
Yeah, Mustafa. How was the exam? Did you study for it?
Dr. Hakeem Mishraqi is the CEMS, Masters of International Management Academic Director, and he is such an inspiration for his students, as he also serves as an assistant professor in the business department. Let's take a look at this profile prepared by Noor Bakr. We live in a society based on looks, where we are also surrounded by certain societal expectations and preconceived stereotypes which girls are expected to fit into.
هنفرح بيكي امتى؟ هنشوف عيالك امتى؟ هتفضلي كده بعيل واحد؟ هتخسي امتى؟
Hello, and welcome today. We have a special guest who has contributed to the fields of international marketing and consumer behavior, of course, and branding, Dr. Hakeem Mishraqi. Thank you for joining us today. Consumer behavior is one of your specialties, and we would like to know, how has consumer behavior changed or shifted over the past few years?
Well, that's an excellent question, actually. Usually, to track consumer behavior historically, we used to first go and ask the consumer through various research techniques, surveys, qualitative, quantitative research, and we used to ask the consumer to report what he feels, what he intends, his attitudes, intentions towards a product or a brand, and this was the case for long years. Now, the game is shifting, and the presence of data analytics is shifting the game and threatening the marketing research field. How is that happening? Consumers used to report what they feel, their activities. Now every one of us has what we call a digital footprint, meaning that you scroll your Facebook, you scroll your Instagram, you look at your Twitter account, the speed of your scroll, you open websites, and all of this produces huge amount of data. They call them exabytes of data. And this amount of big data can help us through proper data analytics to analyze the consumer behavior even without the consumer reporting it, and helps us to properly target the consumer at the right time and with the right product or the right brand or the right ad during his consumer search journey. Of course, the consumer realizes that he needs a product or a service when there is a gap between his desired need state and required or actual need states. And then he starts to search for alternatives. And this is currently done online. And through these analytics, you can profile your customers. You can properly target your customers exactly at the time where they're looking for alternatives, or when they are looking for a product or for a service. So this is changing completely the game and allowing marketeers to understand the consumers, even to predict the consumers through the new AI techniques. And that's a big shift that's currently happening in the market.
Great. Speaking of the customer, or in terms of branding, in this day and age, it's a highly competitive market, of course. What would you say is the most important thing to incorporate into a company's brand?
Of course, I would like even to add to this, it's not only the brand, it's the brand equity that we're talking about. So the name itself, the brand name itself is not the issue, it's what lies behind it. A brand gives a promises to customers. And for a company to have a strong brand, it needs to work on two parallel fields. The first one is the brand awareness. How customers, the level of awareness of the brand when it comes to the customers. And this requires a lot of investment when it comes to promotion and advertisement. Then moving to the other pillar of brand equity, which is the brand image. Brand image is how customers perceive the brand, the degree of uniqueness they see in the brand, the degree of liking they have towards the brand, the degree they are loyal to the brand. And this not only requires the company to invest in advertisement, but it has to deliver the promise it gives to the customer. It has to be consistent in whatever the products or services it's currently offering to the customer. Because branding in itself is a tool to distinguish a company. And behind the brand lies a promise. So if the company does not fulfill this promise, its image would be tarnished. Through advertisement, also the company has to build a lot of what we call brand associations, which are concepts linked to the brand. So for example, if you ask somebody about AUC, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word AUC, and they will report maybe educational excellence, or maybe Intagammo, or maybe 100 years of legacy. Mm-hmm. So these things helps to build the image of the brand. Mm-hmm. With the high level of awareness, then you will realize brand equity. So for companies, they need to measure, first of all, what is the level of awareness through research, what is the current perception of this current brand, and then start working to either improve the level of awareness or enhance the image.
Great. Companies are new every single day. You hear about a new company every single day or almost every single week. So what advice would you give young entrepreneurs or startups that are looking to start their business or looking to be an upcoming situation or an upcoming business in the market itself?
We all know that about 90% or 85 to 90% of startups fail, and the rest remain. And the most common reason for failure for these companies is that they are not addressing a real customer need. They have to look at a real customer need. They don't spend too much time in really knowing, is there a real need in this, or we're just offering something that is already there, satisfied by a different product or a service. Another mistake they fall in is that when they have a new idea of a project, they ask their surrounding, their friends, their family, which in some cases may be just sending them compliments or telling them soothing words, but not the reality. They have to address the real customer persona that they're gonna target, the real, what we call the bull-eye customer, the single customer who's gonna really appreciate and find value in this product. If they don't find this customer, they shouldn't start their business and keep modifying their ideas.
Okay, so you would say that addressing the customer need is the biggest kind of obstacle to face.
Of course, a lot of startups think that the main obstacle is finding funding. And this is actually, in this current era, where the startup scene, the ecosystem of entrepreneurship is now moving, where you have a lot of VC funds, you have a lot of angel investors, you have a lot of seed funds available there. Funding is not a big issue. The main issue is for the right idea, on top of it, the right team who are going to execute this idea, the management team who are executing this idea. Startups need 3 pillars to start. The first one is the idea. The second one is the management team. And the third part of the triangle is the funding. Funding is easy. Now, it's not pretty easy, but it's easy. You can find funds. Ideas could be found, but they need to be evaluated against customer needs, and the right management, the right set of skills, and the right team, the right commitment. You cannot do a startup on the side. That's wrong. You have to be completely dedicated.
Great. Let's get Dr. Hakim's own opinion. What do you think is the key thing that most businesses get wrong, and not as a starting business, as a business that already is in the market, whether we're talking a big conglomerate or a small business on the side of the road? What would you say is the key thing that these businesses get wrong, and how can they correct such a mistake?
Okay. 2 things, actually. The first thing is, during the development of the idea, these startups wait too long until they present their product to the market. Actually, the lean startup model requires that you present a prototype of your model or of your product to the customers and keep getting feedback, continuous feedback, and keep improving your offering until you reach up the minimum viable product. And then keep modifying your products. A lot of startups keep thinking and keep working with numbers, and that's it. While forgetting that there is a feedback they need to get from the customer. When they go to the market, they're surprised that whatever they planned for is not happening. But if they, from the beginning, involve the customers or the potential customers in the development of their product, and maybe go through a design thinking phase of ideating, designing, iterating with the customers, then getting feedback, adjusting and going back and so on, they will go much faster. So their go-to-market is going to be much faster. And at the same time, they're going to make a product which really addresses all the concerns that customers would have. That's number 1. Number 2 is they always have a rosy sales forecast. And you know that when you pitch to investors or when you pitch to venture capitalists and so on, they need to look at numbers. And usually what these startups do is they look at the rosy picture. So you always see in presentations and pitches these lovely increasing curves of sales at the first year, X, in the second year 2X, and the fourth year 4X, and so on, without having a clear justification of these sales forecasts. And this will in effect affect their profitability. It will affect the cash flow that they have, and usually the reason for businesses not continuing is running out of cash. So getting wrong forecasts and wrong numbers is another mistake that usually startups fall into.
Thank you, Dr. Hakim, for your very much needed experimental insight, and it has been a pleasure, of course, having you on our show. And thank you for watching. This has been your host, Yusuf Al-Ghannam, and you're watching AUC Observer.